Good morning. My name is Sazzala Reddy. I'm a file system engineer at Datrium. I build daily, mostly writing some code. Previously, I was at Data Domain. So what I'm going to talk about now after Vince's talk is basically a little bit about our data management features and essentially about how did we go about building a data cloud for people to manage. So, for a long time, system vendors have been pushing LUNs as a way to manage your storage. And it is like 2017, and it still seems to be the way a lot of people are pushing LUNs. But if you talk to customers, they want to manage their business applications and their VMs and not have to worry about storage artifacts. So why is that? Why is that? Because there's a mismatch in how you think about your applications and what LUNs provide you as an abstraction. So because of this mismatch in abstraction, you have a difficulty in doing data management policies for your applications, and they don't map to the LUNs. So what you end up is fundamentally you're forced to then buy a secondary backup storage system to do then the management features, because those backup applications are more in line with what you want to do with your VMs and your business applications. So what are the things which, what does the backup software do for you? So backup software has rich capabilities. Like you can create policies and you can add VMs to those policies. You can manage the snapshots, scheduling, all those things at a more finer-grained level. And beyond just the VMs, you can also manage your vDisks, ISOs, other things you want to be able to kind of control at a more finer granularity. And after that, they also then, once you have all these objects, then they basically, essentially at the heart of it, a backup system has a catalog, which is then used to then be able to search for your objects very quickly. So that's kind of where the backup software helps you get away from the storage artifacts and makes it more easy to manage your data. So similarly, looking at the problem space, we said, how can we do this better for helping the end user? So we decided to just build in a secondary storage system into our DVX to enable a more seamless, management experience for the end user. So, as the demo showed you, we are mostly VM-centric. It's all about how you manage your VMs, not about LUNs. And forget about storage. It's old stuff. So also, we tried really hard to make sure that you can manage these at scale and at a finer granularity. So, the secondary storage offering we have in our DVX, this kind of forms our foundation for our data cloud. So what does it mean? Like, so what are the building blocks we have? So once you have all these VMs and once you have all these objects in a system, to be able to, you can't go in and click on each VM and select your policy for that. It's just too much work. You have hundreds of VMs, thousands of VMs. It's just too much work to be able to go click on each one and manage them. A lot of people do have some sense of what the grouping means, how they group there. Like they have a finance department, they want to group to that. But even there, it's still too hard to be able to say, here's my finance VMs, go click on each one and then set up the policies for it. So we have something called a protection group we have in our system. We added. It's like a policy group. And you can say, hey, this is my finance department policy grouping. You can give it a name pattern. Most people have naming patterns for their VMs. You can give it a naming pattern, and it auto-detects these VMs dynamically on the fly. And if they change, VMs come and go, it auto-detects them and groups them into these policies.
Do you support vSphere tags?
No.
Not yet.
So my question.
Not yet?
You could ask again.
No.
Not yet was good. But also we found that a lot of people actually don't care about the tags, actually. They just have naming conventions also. They find that to be just useful. Some people do have the tags, and some people like the folders. But I've found that a lot of people actually just have the naming conventions to be just.
So I'm going to argue with that and say anybody doing automation deployments, things like that, are going to use tags. We use tags with NSX for security. We use it with VRA for tagging different resource workloads. We use tags up in AWS. Tags.
I agree. Yeah. But I found that there's a broad spectrum of people how they want to use they set up. So some people just have names, and they seem to be happy with that. I actually asked about tags, and they're like, I don't want tags. Yeah. Some people do want tags only, they don't want names. So there seems a broad spectrum, we want to support all of it. So that's how you manage. Basically, we thought you can manage at scale so that you can have these policies, simple ones, and then not worry about it. And the policies, what are they useful for? You can set up a policy and you can say, look, take the snapshots at a different schedules, and then replicate them to different places, and that's kind of at a high level what it gives you. But in addition to the VMs, you can also select by pattern matching or by selecting either ISOs or VMDKs or other objects you have in your system, because sometimes the business application is just not the VM. It's the other things which sometimes just go with it. Sometimes you have ISOs, OVAs, templates, whatever. You can package them all, and we detect those, and we can basically make them all into one grouping. So the other thing we have is that when you take a snapshot for all the objects in this protection group, we take it atomically at one shot. Because sometimes there's a business application dependencies between the VMs. You don't know. So rather than asking you to do the consistency groups and all that stuff, we decided to just snap them all at one shot without any performance impact. But just simple, don't have to think about it. So at the foundation of all these protection groups is that we have efficient snapshots with built in. And all of these snapshots live in something called Snapstore. So we have something called a Snapstore. So there's data store for the live VMs and something called a Snapstore for your copy data management. And think of it like a backup catalog. In the backup software has a backup catalog. Think of it like that, where all the objects live, all these snapshot objects. And you can it has search capabilities. You can search for whatever you want to search for very quickly. Once you have thousands of objects, then you need search, a fast way to search for your objects and look at them together. And I'll talk about it a little bit more later. And then because we have all these objects now, it's easy to clone, deploy new stuff. And because of architecture, you can clone, test, and dev VMs and run them on different servers without having any impact on other production VMs because of the architecture, the way it works. I come from data domain. One of the experiences I've had is that why other people were not able to easily build a secondary storage system is that you have to build foundationally a very efficient dedupe, compression, erasure coding, those things into the system. You can't add them later on. It's super hard to add them later on because they're foundational pieces. So from beginning, we knew where we were going to go, so we built all these pieces so that we can offer this such seamless copy data management features. So, just a quick workflow picture. There is the data stores at the top, and then there is the Snapstore at the top. If you look at the one DVX, there's the data stores and the Snapstore. So when you take snapshots, the kind of pointers move into the Snapstore. All the objects, kind of the tree of policies and stuff like that, live in the Snapstore. And then you create a protection groups. And then when you want to clone, test, and dev, you move objects from Snapstore into the data store. Don't think of moving as a full data movement. It's mostly pointers moving around. So all of these Snapstores kind of work together across in your various DVX systems, clusters in your private cloud to kind of form a data cloud. We kind of form this cloud view so that it all works seamlessly together to provide one view of what all your objects are. So, yes.
You keep talking about testing different environments, right? I want to test dev. I want to be able to not inflict. Now, are you handling the fencing off of the network and things like that? Kind of a DR testing, right? I want to test this same environment.
Yeah.
I want to test some scenarios, but I don't want to have IP conflicts and stuff like that.
We have work in progress in that area. We do allow you to fail over, but there's some work in progress on how we make that more seamless without having network conflict.
So for right now, it's just up to the.
It's up to the right now. It's up to the end user to kind of help with that. Manage that process more manually. But we are working rigorously towards making that more seamless.
Okay.
Because ultimately, if you're doing copies, the reason you're doing all this stuff is that you can recover from them. So if that is not recoverable and easy to do, what you do with all these copies? So we're completely with you on that.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Going back to earlier, it was mentioned that you could get by minimum one compute node, one storage node, basically. Where does that leave you with regards to snapshots if you've only got one node? It seems
one data node, you mean?
Yeah.
In terms of capacity, you mean?
Well, no, just in terms of backup. So it's your backup essentially just sitting on that one node that you have?
Yeah, I mean, but we do have replication. Boris will talk about it. That you
Yeah.
can replicate this off to some other box if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So that gives you the my rack died, it's caught on fire, then I have a second copy. But ultimately, you have to have a second copy somewhere else. So we make that easy for you to have a second copy somewhere else.
Okay.
And efficiently replicate it over.
And meanwhile, if you have multiple nodes, it basically jigs things around, I would assume.
Multiple nodes and multiple compute nodes.
Yeah.
But those are not where the data lives. Basically, all the data.
What I'm getting at is if you have multiple data nodes,
Yeah.
you can handle some sort of loss.
So we'll, today we support one,
Okay.
and so we alluded to a next release going beyond that, but we'll have to talk about that when that comes out.
When's that coming out?
Soon.
Monday? I mean,
Watch that space.
Any other questions? I'm happy to answer. Okay, so there'll be a short demo on how we try to build these features. We try to make it simple for the end user to actually use, and I'm hoping they don't have to ever come to our UI because it just works, except for setting up these policies and how easy do we make it policies to be set.